sunrise breaks through the city haze. Tick-tock, the clock, it never stays. Faces pass like fleeting dreams. Life is more than what it seems. Footsteps echo on these empty streets. In the silence, heartbeats great. Seconds fall like autumn leaves. Time, it flies and no one believes. The clock ticks away without a sound. Lost in moments never to be.
Welcome to our holiday deep dive, and this time we're unwrapping a classic.
Oh, a classic.
Jane Austen's Emma.
Okay.
I know for a high school student, especially with all the holiday excitement, tackling a novel like this can seem...
Daunting.
Yeah, a bit daunting. But trust me, this is one literary present that keeps on giving.
You know, I've always found that Emma is like a perfectly brewed cuppa on a chilly Christmas Eve. Comforting, witty, and full of delightful surprises.
Exactly. We're here to guide you through this story.
Okay.
Unpack some of its deeper meanings, and hopefully convince you that Emma is a read worth savoring even centuries after it was written.
Centuries.
So let's head to the charming village of Highbury, where we meet our protagonist,
Right.
Emma Woodhouse.
Emma Woodhouse.
She's handsome, clever, rich, and perhaps a little too convinced of her own matchmaking talents.
Emma. She's a wonderful mix of charm and flaws, wouldn't you say?
I think so.
She's got a knack for meddling, a tendency to jump to conclusions, and often completely misread situations. But it's these very imperfections that make her so relatable, even for modern readers.
Absolutely. She's that friend we all have, well-meaning, but sometimes a bit too sure of herself.
Right.
And her matchmaking escapades are what really set the story in motion.
Okay.
It all starts with her friend Harriet Smith, a sweet but somewhat naive young woman.
Right.
Emma decides that Harriet is destined for a grander life than marrying Robert Martin, a kind and respectable farmer who's clearly smitten with her.
This is where Austen's genius really shines through on the surface. It's a simple love triangle, but beneath that, she's subtly critiquing the rigid class structure of Regency England.
Oh, interesting.
Emma's disapproval of the match with Robert Martin reveals her own ingrained snobbery.
Yeah.
The idea that marrying for love across class lines was simply not done.
It's amazing how Austen manages to weave such sharp social commentary into a seemingly lighthearted story, isn't it?
Indeed. And speaking of misguided matchmaking, we can't forget Mr. Elton.
Oh, Mr. Elton.
The handsome new vicar who arrives in Highbury. Emma is utterly convinced that he's head over heels for Harriet.
Oh, no.
Completely oblivious to the rather obvious signs that he's actually interested in her.
It's classic Emma, isn't it?
It is.
She creates this whole elaborate fantasy in her head, and reality just refuses to cooperate.
Right.
And poor Harriet ends up getting her heart broken because of Emma's miscalculations.
The humor in this situation lies in Emma's complete obliviousness.
Yeah.
She's so confident in her matchmaking abilities that she becomes blind to Mr. Elton's true intentions. It's a reminder that even the most intelligent among us can be blind to the obvious, especially when our own ego gets in the way.
That's very true.
And just when we think things can't get any more complicated, in walks Frank Churchill.
Frank Churchill.
Mr. Weston's son from a previous marriage.
Okay.
He's the dashing newcomer who sets tongues wagging.
Oh.
And Emma is immediately intrigued.
Frank's arrival adds a whole new layer of complexity to the story.
I bet.
He represents disruption.
Yeah.
A challenge to the established social order of Highbury. He's charming, mysterious, and embodies the allure of the unknown.
He does.
I can just imagine all the whispers and speculation surrounding him. It's like he stepped right out of a romantic novel.
And you know, it's fascinating.
What?
Emma's initial fascination with Frank stands in stark contrast to Mr. Knightley's skepticism about his character.
Mr. Knightley.
Mr. Knightley, Emma's older, more sensible neighbor and brother-in-law,
Right.
sees right through Frank's charm, sensing something isn't quite right.
Mr. Knightley, the ever-reliable voice of reason, it's almost like Austen is setting up a little competition between them for Emma's attention, wouldn't you say? And that's only the beginning because, as it turns out, Frank Churchill is harboring a secret.
Ah, yes, a secret engagement.
A secret engagement.
Secret that speaks volumes about the societal pressures and constraints of Austen's era. Imagine being engaged, but having to keep it a secret.
That's right. Frank is secretly engaged to Jane Fairfax, a seemingly perfect young woman living with her aunt, Miss Bates, in rather reduced circumstances. This clandestine relationship really highlights the importance of class and reputation in Regency England.
Absolutely. A public engagement with Jane, given her social standing and lack of fortune, would have been a scandal for someone like Frank,
Wow.
jeopardizing his future prospects, so they're forced into secrecy, living a lie within their community.
It's fascinating how Austen uses this seemingly simple plot device, the secret engagement, to explore the hypocrisy and double standards of the society she was writing about.
It's like she's holding up a mirror to her own world, revealing the complexities and contradictions beneath the surface of polite society. And it's something that still resonates with us today, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
We might not have the same rigid social rules, but the pressure to conform to present a certain image to the world is something I think we can all relate to.
That's so true, and it makes you wonder, how will Emma, with all her meddling and matchmaking, navigate this web of secrets and hidden emotions?
You know what's so clever about Emma?
What's that?
Austen doesn't need grand dramatic events to move the story forward.
Really?
She uses those everyday moments,
Mm-hmm.
dinner parties, walks in the countryside, even a game of charades,
Oh, wow.
to slowly peel back the layers of these characters and expose their true selves.
It's like she's saying that real life, even in a seemingly quiet village like Highbury, is full of drama and intrigue if you just know where to look.
Yeah, and the way she uses language, it's so witty and precise.
Yeah.
You find yourself chuckling one minute and then deeply pondering the character's motivations the next.
Exactly. It's that blend of social satire and genuine insight into human nature that makes Emma such a rewarding read. And speaking of insights, one of the most satisfying aspects of the novel is watching Emma's transformation.
Oh, yeah.
She starts out as this rather clueless, albeit well-intentioned young woman, but through a series of humbling experiences, she begins to see her own flaws and the impact of her actions on others. I love how her growth feels so organic and believable. It's not a sudden overnight change, but a gradual process of self-discovery. We see her questioning her own assumptions, especially when it comes to social class and what truly constitutes a good match.
A key turning point for Emma is when she realizes the pain she's caused Harriet by pushing her towards Mr. Elton. Her remorse is genuine, and it prompts her to reassess her role in other people's lives. She starts to understand that her meddling, however well-intentioned, can have real consequences.
Right, and then there's her evolving relationship with Mr. Knightley. He's the one who consistently challenges her, not in a mean-spirited way, but with a blend of honesty and concern that's so refreshing. It's clear he sees her potential even when she's being utterly ridiculous.
Their dynamic is fascinating, isn't it?
It is.
There's this underlying tension between them, a clash of personalities and perspectives, but it's also clear that they deeply respect each other.
Yeah.
They challenge each other intellectually, they make each other laugh, and ultimately they help each other grow.
One scene that always stands out to me is when Mr. Knightley confronts Emma about her insensitive treatment of Miss Bates at the Box Hill picnic. It's a moment where Emma's flaws are laid bare, but it's also a testament to Mr. Knightley's character, that he calls her out in a way that's both firm and compassionate.
That scene is crucial because it highlights the moral heart of the novel. Austen isn't just interested in romantic entanglements. She's exploring the ethical dimensions of human relationships. Emma, despite her social standing, is shown to be capable of great unkindness, and Mr. Knightley's rebuke underscores the idea that true goodness lies in how we treat others, regardless of their social status.
It's a lesson that Emma takes to heart, and it marks a turning point in her development. She begins to see the world outside her own narrow perspective, and it's this newfound empathy that ultimately leads her to true happiness.
And this brings us to the novel's satisfying resolution.
Yes.
Emma, having learned from her mistakes, finally recognizes her true feelings for Mr. Knightley, and they embark on a relationship built on mutual understanding, respect, and shared values.
It's a testament to Austen's skill as a writer that she can make a happy ending feel both earned and believable, even with a protagonist as flawed as Emma. We've witnessed her journey, her struggles, her moments of both pride and humility, and we genuinely root for her to find happiness.
And let's not forget the other couples who find their happy endings.
Oh, right.
Harriet thankfully realizes that Robert Martin is a far better match for her than the ambitious Mr. Elton, and even Frank Churchill and Jane Fairfax, despite the secrecy and societal pressures they faced, eventually find their way to a public and hopefully fulfilling union. So what does this all mean for you, our listener?
Especially as you're navigating the often complex social dynamics of the holiday season.
Emma reminds us that first impressions can be deceiving, that true character is often revealed through actions rather than words. It encourages us to look beyond social status and superficial charm to discern genuine kindness and integrity.
It also reminds us to be mindful of our own flaws and the impact we have on those around us. We might not be meddling matchmakers like Emma, but we all have moments where our pride or prejudices blind us to the needs of others.
And perhaps most importantly, Emma suggests that self-awareness and the willingness to learn from our mistakes are essential ingredients for personal growth and lasting happiness. Just as Emma learns to see herself and her community with greater clarity, we too can strive to navigate our own social spheres with more empathy, compassion, and a healthy dose of humility.
It's funny, isn't it, as we're unpacking Emma's story?
Yeah.
It's almost like Austen is giving us a gentle nudge, reminding us to be a bit more like Mr. Knightley.
Oh, like Mr. Knightley?
During those holiday get-togethers.
Okay.
Observant, thoughtful, and maybe just a tad less judgmental of our quirky aunts and uncles.
Indeed, and those holiday gatherings often become a stage for our own, perhaps less dramatic matchmaking attempts.
Right.
We might not be setting up elaborate schemes like Emma, but there's often that underlying pressure, isn't there? To create the perfect holiday picture, to connect people who might not naturally gravitate toward each other.
It's like we become the directors of our own holiday rom-com, complete with a carefully chosen cast and a script that doesn't always go according to plan.
Right.
But just as Emma learns, true happiness can't be forced or manipulated.
Exactly. Sometimes the most genuine and memorable moments happen when we let go of that control, allowing those connections to form organically, just like those unexpected conversations that spark around the fireplace after Christmas dinner.
So this holiday season, as you're gathered with family and friends,
Okay.
maybe keep Emma in mind.
Right.
Observe those dynamics, the little tensions, the moments of genuine warmth and connection. You might even spot a real-life Mr. Knightley or a Harriet Smith hiding in plain sight.
And remember, the beauty of a novel like Emma lies not only in its timeless characters and Austen's sparkling wit,
Yeah.
but also in its ability to make us think about our own lives, our own relationships. It's a story that stays with you long after you've turned the final page.
We hope this holiday deep dive into Emma has given you a fresh perspective on this beloved classic, and maybe even inspired you to pick up a copy and discover Austen's brilliance for yourself. Who knows, it might become your new favorite holiday tradition.
And as you navigate the festivities and perhaps even encounter a few meddling matchmakers of your own, remember to approach each interaction with a blend of Emma's initial enthusiasm and Mr. Knightley's discerning eye. You might just uncover a hidden depth and complexity